Have you ever seen her? The girl whose face not even the meanest person you know would describe as yuck, but who you never in a million, no, a trillion years describe as alluring either. The girl whose eyes are 3 centimeters too far apart and whose mouth is 4 centimeters too wide. Not that you break out a ruler, but when you look at her, it's enough to make you say that something is definitely off. Come on now, you've seen her. She's the girl whose hair has multiple personality disorder and can't decide if it's supposed to be quasi-curly, silky straight, frantic frizzy, or wet and wavy, or maybe a power to the people fro. The girl whose body is a contradiction of itself. A slightly hunchback from years of poor posture, one must presume. Feet the size of snowshoes and stick-figure arms and legs so fragile you think you hear them screaming, "Feed me an entire grilled cow now!" The girl with the humongous punch bowl-sized head with a forehead that goes on and on and on, making her look like the weight of her cranium will topple her over and break her into 1,000 pieces. And not only is her clothing painfully mismatched, so are her eyes, darling. You heard me right. She has one green eye and one brown eye. Have you ever seen Tookie de la Creme? I bet you have. Maybe you've even met her. You just don't remember. No one ever does. For as unusual looking as she was, Tookie was a forget-a-girl. One of the most forgettable girls in the entire world. But maybe not for long. Our tale begins on a Thursday afternoon, the most ordinary of ordinary afternoons, a few days shy of the most unordinary day of the entire year. Tookie de la Creme was splayed on her back on the hallway floor of her school, the Bangle, Bauble, and Bead Institute, B3 as it was commonly called. Her large, mismatched eyes didn't blink as she stared at the stained ceiling. Her gangly legs shot out at odd angles, as though she'd fallen from a 6-story building. Her enormous feet pointed straight up. An internal clock counted down the time in perfect cadence. T minus 6 minutes and 49 seconds. 48. 47. As Tookie waited, she lifted to her face a cold canister of whipped cream, inserting the nozzle straight into her mouth. She pressed the trigger that delivered the airy sweetness directly onto her tongue. A bit of cream accidentally dropped from her mouth and dripped from her chin to her neck. With each squirt, more and more of the cream fell to her snug-fitting hand-me-up blue blouse, which had once been her younger sister's. Another squirt landed in her hair. She then licked her tiny baby fingers from thumb to pinky and prepared for the next squirt. How was Tookie able to lie in the middle of her school's hallway during class time, enjoying whipped cream from the can and not get herself into any trouble? Well, Tookie was the Institute's best skipper. No one, not even the most cunning teachers, noticed she was gone when she skipped out of class way before most of her lessons ended. T minus 4 minutes 33 seconds. 32. 31. As Tookie stretched her legs, the backs of her calves touched the bittingly cold marble, making her shiver. Most people would have found it uncomfortable, but Tookie was happy she felt something. At least she was still alive and breathing. Sometimes Tookie was so used to being a forget-a-girl that she thought she really was invisible. T minus 5 seconds. 4. 2. 3. 2. A loud but familiar clanging made Tookie jump. The school's bell was actually an old-time buzzer that had long ago signaled factory shift changes. In days gone by, before the Institute had taken over the building, B3 had produced 3 things: bangles, baubles, and Beats. Once the bell stopped, a familiar rumbling made Tookie cringe. An oily belch followed. Know what that's like, sending a thick cloud of greenish smoke through the vents. A stench filled the air. It smelled like a mix of gasoline, mold, melted plastic, and methane gas emanating from the bowels of the building. Excruciatingly loud school bells weren't the only relics left over from when B3 had been a factory. The administration had done very little in the way of renovation to convert the safety code deficient building into a proper institute of learning. The school let out belches and eruptions all day and leaked fumes from every crevice. I know how it feels. Groaning, the students emerged from their classrooms. Ugh, Ariella Bertona wailed, fanning the odors from her face. Nasty, Tatiana Sharon said, pressing a sachet of dried flowers to her nose. The B4 Institute tooted again, Jason Milano chortled, trotting out the school's oldest, tiredest, but aptest joke. Everyone called the school B4 for bile, barf, belches, and butt bombs. More doors were flung open and the sound of footsteps thundered through the halls. Tookie quickly closed her eyes. She then peeked to see just how far the approaching mob was from her prone body. 9 feet away, she estimated. The conversations of passerby began to wash over her. Tookie felt like a fly on the wall. Zarpeza says she's spending $50,000 on her prep, said an annoyed female voice over Tookie's head. Hag. What do you think the look will be at T-Dod this year? A girl with a forehead tattoo whined. I hope my tatted face will be in. Don't hold your breath, Inky, a male voice answered. Another voice floated over from the other side of the corridor. If they don't choose me, I don't know what I'm going to do with my life. If I die, I'll end up working in a belt buckle factory like my mom. I've been crying for a month straight. I hope my eyes aren't going to stay all puffy like this. Many of the conversations had to do with the big event that was taking place in 2 days. The Day of Discovery, which most people shortened to T-Dod. It was the grandest of holidays, and B3 was even letting students have Friday off this week to prepare. An absolute rarity. Not that Tookie really cared. Where do you think the rest of them will be this year? A girl with a nasal voice asked. I heard that a girl found one in a pot of boiling sweet potatoes and burned up her hands real bad trying to get it. Tookie shifted on the floor. Now they were talking about smize. Girls had been searching for the magical charms for days, fighting at water spigots, sloshing through sewers, splashing in the Peppertown pool, which everyone knew kids had peed in. I found the pipe where the gunk water from the Chevera Hospital dumps out, a hopeful girl whispered. No one is going to be looking for smize there. As more people passed, as more girls chattered about T-Dod, Tookie began to feel lonelier and lonelier. It was yet another day where no one, not a single person, looked down on the floor and cried, "Oh, check out that girl down there." All the students rushed past Tookie like water in a stream flowing around a rock. Rubber sneakers almost crushed her fingers. Heavy boots nearly bumped her shins. A piece of paper fluttered out of someone's notebook and landed close to Tookie's left hand. The paper's owner, a dark-haired girl, bent down to snatch it, not even noticing that Tookie was there. Irrelevant. Expendable. Forgettable. All Tookie wanted was for someone to notice her. Anyone. Just a simple kick in the ribs, or a sneaker sole that squished her hand, or a textbook that slipped from a student's grip and fell on her large forehead. She wasn't picky. Spin, thud, spin, thud, spin, 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 thud. Tookie looked up at a spinning dervish approaching, taking in her long, thick, curly, wheat blonde hair, her silver dollar-sized aqua eyes, and her perfectly symmetrical face. It was as if Tookie's wish had come true, sort of. For here was her sister, Miracle, someone who did notice her, except, well, Tookie didn't really want her to. Spotting Tookie sprawled on the floor, Miracle began to sing, "You are not my nay, nay." She gave one spin for each word, making the hem of her blue dress flutter. It was a dress, Tookie guessed, that would pass to her as a hand-me-up in a matter of days. Tookie rolled her eyes at her sister's mispronunciation of DNA. Beyond her looks and fancy flights of footwork, that was most disturbing to Tookie about the Miracle, as Tookie's mother called her, was not that she was Tookie's younger sister. The most disturbing fact was that the Miracle was distinctly, indisputably, flat-out dense. As dumb as a lobotomized turkey, and turkeys were said to raise their heads to the sky during rainstorms and drown themselves. Oh, Tookie tried to give her sister the benefit of the doubt. Miracle had memorized every intricate dance step of the 22 verses of the Chevera Shuffle, after all, and at least she understood the concept of DNA. Even if she got the pronunciation wrong, but in all honesty, Miracle wasn't the brightest tube of lipstick in the makeup caddy. That'll be all for this time. We'll see you next time.